Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Kris. This was requested. Part 3, Rise of Islam. Dr. Roy. Before we get started, you can click that thumbs up, bare minimum. I'm not asking a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Click on the thanks button and donate to the channel if you want to keep the channel rolling. All right, let's do it. Another 20-minute video, by the way.
He's going to take on the title of Khalif. Khalif means follower. The Prophet Muhammad's title was Rasulullah, which means basically messenger of God. So his real title is Khalifa Rasulullah, the follower of the messenger of God. So he's actually got a very humble title. In this role, he decides that his number one priority is to unify the Arabian Peninsula. So what is today Saudi Arabia plus the Gulf states, Oman and Yemen. They had never ever been unified. They had never been conquered by an outside force, and they had never conquered themselves. The Arabian Peninsula had always been sort of this wild, chaotic, sort of raiding place where there was no central authority. In the northwestern corner, the Romans had conquered a piece. In the northeastern corner, the Persians had conquered a piece. The Persians had gotten into what is now Oman briefly. There was a period of time when people from what is now Ethiopia had conquered part of the Yemen, but the whole peninsula had never been ruled by a single authority. So Abu Bakr decides that's going to be his first step. In 632, he launches a series of attacks. He sends armies out, and he will, within about a year, conquer the Arabian Peninsula for the first time in human history. He'll put it together. It takes him really just a few months. The reason he pulls it off, mostly, is a guy named Khalid ibn Walid.
I just want to say a lot of people didn't know about him until I'd done some videos about him. I brought him public. I'm just trying to... I deserve the credit is what I'm saying. No, I don't? Oh, okay.
So I love this guy's name. Khalid means immortal. Ibn means son. Walid means newborn. So he's the immortal son of the newborn. Very cool. It's an awesome name. Khalid ibn Walid is the warrior's warrior. In human history, there have only been two people who fit into his category, him, and another guy named Thutmose III. In the West, we talk about Robert E. Lee or Erwin Rommel, or we talk about Alexander the Great or Julius Caesar.
Robert E. Lee, highly overrated.
And it's true that all four of those guys were really amazing generals and really amazing at getting into
Robert E. Lee, highly overrated.
a bad battle situation and pulling it off. Khalid ibn Walid and Thutmose III were never defeated. All the guys I just mentioned were defeated at one point. Alexander the Great wasn't, but Alexander the Great didn't have the kind of wins that these guys had.
Kind of going back quickly, from 610 to 632, what was the role of women?
Okay, that's a good question since we were talking about it.
Nothing to do with what you're
Sure.
talking about.
No, it's a really important question. Actually, I'm glad you asked it. So this is really strange looking back on it. But Prophet Muhammad actually is going to transform the role of women because in the Roman Empire, the Christian Roman Empire, women were not allowed to own property. They were not allowed to sign contracts. They had no divorce rights. And they could get a divorce, they had no right to get a divorce. So basically the husband had to be willing to he had to want the divorce. Or some powerful person had to arrange for it to happen. What Muhammad comes along and he says, look, I'm going to give women the right to divorce. It's easier for men to do it. He just has to say, I divorce you 3 times. But the woman has to have a reason. But the reasons were extremely varied. For example, you're not producing a baby. So he's sterile or she's sterile. We don't know, but we know somebody's sterile. That was grounds for a divorce. Incompatibility of personality. So you could just say, I don't like the guy. That was grounds for a divorce. He won't have sex with me enough was grounds for a divorce. I want it every day and he wants to do it once a month. It's not enough. That was grounds for a divorce. So that was transformative. Another thing that the Prophet Muhammad did was he allowed women to be witnesses in law. That did not exist. It did exist in ancient Egypt, but it did not exist in Roman or Persian culture. I didn't go into the details on this, but the Assyrians, the Persians, the Romans, the Greeks, they were all vicious towards women. They really just did not allow women to have rights. And so Prophet Muhammad said women can be witnesses, however, they only count as half a man. So, you need 3 witnesses to convict somebody of a crime, or 6 women, because it wouldn't quite work. But at the time, this was revolutionary, because it was 0 women prior to that, right? I mean, women just did not have that right, so it was really amazing. Another thing that he did was he gave women not only the right to own property, which was shocking and remarkable, but he actually gave women the right to have inheritance. Now, what was supposed to happen was 2 shares went to a boy and then 1 share for a girl. So if there was, if it was a boy and a girl in a family, when the father died, the boy would get 2/3 and the girl would get 1/3. But if there were 2 girls and a boy, it wasn't quite like that, because it would still be 2 shares for the boy and then 1 share for the girl, 1 share for the girl. If there was another boy, it'd be 2 shares for the boy, 2 shares for the other boy, and then 1 and 1, right? You see how that works? So it meant that boys were going to get twice what a woman was going to get, but compared to the Roman Empire, where a woman was going to get nothing, this was really amazing. So in a way, this was a revolution for women's rights. Having said that, compared to what Egypt had prior to being conquered by the Roman Empire, it really wasn't much of a revolution. And then, of course, when we look back on it today, we're like, I can't believe you're giving women half, and they only count, right? So, you just kind of look at it from the period of time. There is no, because I know people get all stuck on the veil thing, there is no requirement that women veil in the Quran. It just does not exist. The only reference in the Quran to that is when, I guess it was on a trade mission, the Prophet Muhammad went to Yemen, and he noticed that there were Yemenis women who would cover their mouths. They would veil their mouths, basically, but they didn't necessarily cover their breasts. And he went, all right, this is a little weird. Can you cover your breasts, but you don't have to do your mouth? That's the only reference in the Quran to, and it was because in Yemen, the mouth was considered a sexual organ, what the breasts were not, because the breasts functioned for the children, so you covered the mouth. So anyway, the ancient Yemen and modern Yemen are places of great curiosity. So is that good, or do you want me to go into more detail? Okay, cool. So by 633, the Arabian Peninsula is conquered. Abu Bakr decides to do something a little strange. He orders Khalid ibn Walid to attack the Persian Empire. They've just conquered the Arabian Peninsula, and he goes, keep going, don't stop, because he sent him west, actually sent him east, and then he changes his mind, sends him to Yemen, and then he says, you know what, keep going, go right into the Persian Empire. At the same time, he sends several generals with armies against the Roman Empire. So the Roman Empire at this point has been an actor in the Mediterranean for 1,300 years. Now, it hasn't been a superpower for all of that time. It's been a superpower for about 900 of those years. I shouldn't say superpower. It's been a power for 900 of those years. It's been a superpower for about 700 of those years, 800 of those years. So it's been around for a while. The Persian Empire, by that point, has been a full-on superpower in the region for 1,100 years when they get attacked by the Arabs. The Arabs are a tiny population. They're a tiny desert population. They don't have a lot of resources. Their technology is centuries behind the Persians. It's at least a century or two behind the Romans. So they're technologically inferior. They're numerically inferior. They're monetarily inferior. These guys have no chance against these two empires, and they're attacking them both simultaneously. Like, this is the very definition of utter madness. And Abu Bakr orders it, and his generals oblige, and they take the Arab armies, and they simultaneously attack these two ancient empires. And combined, these two empires have been superpowers for 2,000 years. Right? People can't even imagine a world at this point without the Persian and the Roman empires. It's beyond imagination. They are.
Give me just a second. I'm having a little bit of issue here. Okay.
As far as anybody knows, there to stay. They will be there forever. Khalid ibn Walid is the kind of general who leads from the front. The first battle against the Persians, he pulls up his army. The Persians line up their army. And the first thing this is the way Arabs like to fight. The first thing they would do is they would pick a champion. And he would go out in between the two armies, so he was close enough to the enemy army, and he would shout impromptu poetry. And the belief was that if your poetry was good enough, the other side should surrender. They should quit the battle. You could win a battle with poetry. And the Persians, of course, didn't have that.
I do remember that because I was like, what? And then I heard some of the things and I was like, oh, someone's talking trash. I do remember this.
As part of their culture, so they don't send the guy back. But that's the first thing that happens, is the guy goes over and shouts poetry, impromptu poetry at the Persians. And they're like, what the hell is this? Let's just get this fight on the way going. But what the Persians did have was a similar tradition the Arabs did, having a champion go fight. And Khalid ibn Walid decides he's his own champion, and the Persian general goes, well, I gotta go if he's going, right? He's gotta be general against general. And so the two men meet in the middle of the battlefield and they fight. And the thinking is if that fight is heroic enough between the champions, you should just call it. The other side should. So there's a way to avoid battle, either through poetry or a good champion fight. And when Khalid kills the Persian general, they go ahead and have the battle anyway, and the Persians are wiped out. Khalid invaded with 15,000 men, and he wipes out somewhere around 20,000 Persian soldiers with maybe just a few tens of casualties. It's an unbelievable battle because the Persians not only outnumber him, but they're better equipped. They have more armor, more technology. He goes and fights another battle. Same kind of odds, 15,000 to 20,000, beats the Persians again. Goes and fights another battle. And he keeps doing this, and he keeps beating them time after time. The Persian Empire can't figure out what's going on. In one battle, the Persians decide they're going to set up an ambush for him. They actually buried men in the desert where they knew the battle was going to take place. They buried men in the desert, and they just laid still. And when Khalid came out to fight his champion, the men in the desert popped up, and they attacked. And he ended up fighting, I think it was like 15 men. So it was just him against 15 men. And one of his soldiers, who was next to him when this happens, goes, this isn't fair. And so he runs and joins Khalid, and the two men together kill the 15 men. They wipe them out. The whole rest of the Arab army is like, okay, now it's fair. Yeah, I don't know, why didn't 13 men go join them? But anyway, they don't. And Khalid prevails. He gets called back because there's a rebellion in Arabia. He comes back to Arabia, puts down the rebellion, turns around, reinvades the Persian Empire.
Can you imagine if after that, you just witness 15 of your guys get beat, and then some third guy from the Arab side comes running out and then starts reciting poetry, but slam poetry. So I can't think of anything good offhand, but just throwing out insults, sounding like Eminem out there, and the other side's just like, they just killed 15 of our guys, and this guy is being very rude. And now he is just going to town on us. I don't know about you, but I think I'm going to switch sides. You're going to switch sides? I am going to switch. Listen to him. I mean, he's out there straight. No, those are bars. He's just rapping out there. I'll be honest. Outside the smell of all the dead bodies, those guys are having a party out there, and I want to participate. I just feel like I should go out there. That guy starts walking out there, and they start, all right, and he's just like, no, I was just, never mind. I just didn't want to die, and so I was just going to switch sides. But no, that's fine. I'll just run. It's cool.
By 634, he'll fight the Battle of Firaz. He's completely conquered what is today Iraq. The Persian Empire's capital was in what is now Iraq. It's a place called Tisiphon. It's actually not far from Baghdad. When he arrives at Firaz, the Persians, by this point, have been beaten in one stunning defeat after another. What the Persians realized was, instead of fighting him piecemeal, they needed to just put one big army together and fight him. And so at one point, they had 20,000-man units converging on a single point. And their goal was to then 60,000 against 15. And so what he did was he realized he was in trouble if that happened. So he took his army, split it up into 3 pieces. So it's 3 5,000-man pieces. They moved to where they thought the Persians would be, coming from 3 separate directions. And they were told to arrive at a specific time on a specific night. And they did it 3 times in a row. Like today, with precision clocks, we would have trouble pulling this off. With maps and GPS, this would be an almost impossible thing to do. And he does it 3 times in a row, arrives at the same time, same place, and at a camp, wipes out the Persians all 3 times. He gets to Firaz, he still has about 15,000 men. He's gotten like a couple hundred reinforcements. Like he doesn't have 15,000 because he's being
Hello, Dr. Roy. Hello. Okay, so give me a second. Let me figure out what's going on. Do I still have internet? I do. Give me a second. Okay, so I apparently lost connection to the internet on this computer, but we're back, refreshed, and ready to dance. Or listen to him.
Reinforced. There are 100. He doesn't have 15,000 because he's being reinforced.
Just imagine that conversation. How many men did you set out with? 15,000. How many battles have you been in? 3 or 4. How many men have you lost? A couple hundred. Okay. So how many men do you think you have right now? 15,000. Okay. I'm not going to question you. So how many men do you think you've killed? A lot. Cool. You can sleep in my bed if you want to. I'm just going to go ahead and tiptoe on out of here.
Are 150,000 Persians and Romans. Firaz was the border between the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire. And by this point, the Persians and Romans realized they had better start working together. They're in trouble. And so the 150,000 Roman and Persian soldiers, I should point out that a huge number of these Romans and Persians are actually Arabs. I don't know the exact number out of the 150,000, but if I were to guess, I would say it might have been as much as half. What they were is they were Christian Arabs. So this battle is going to be Muslim Arabs against Christian Arabs, Persians, and Romans mixed. So there's these 3 nations basically in this giant slugfest. They're at the Euphrates River, and the Persians, Romans, and Christian Arabs are on one side, and Khalid ibn Walid and his 15,000 Muslims are on the other side. And the Persians, Romans, and Christian Arabs don't want to cross the river to fight him because he's right up on the river. So here's the river. So what Khalid ibn Walid does is he takes his force, which is parked here, there's a ford here, and a bridge. There's a bridge over the top of a ford, so you go underneath or on top. And what he did was he took his army and he split it up into 3 pieces, and he put it like that, and he walked away to let them cross. And so this massive army starts to cross using the ford and the bridge. They start to cross, and Khalid ibn Walid waits until there's about 50,000 of his enemy across, and then he attacks. And he has the guys close to the river come with the goal of joining at the bridge. The goal is to get behind the army, but leave men the whole time. So there'll be Arabs, Muslim Arabs, all the way across from here to here. In the meantime, he's going to attack straight on, but he's also going to send flankers. And their goal is to completely surround this 50,000 men and then compress them through constant charges. They'll pull their horses back, a charge. The 15,000 Arabs are all cavalry. And they're riding Arabians. So they're really fast, but they're not big horses. Anyway, the goal is to pull back, charge, pull back, and keep pressing them together until they're so tightly packed they can't swing their weapons. And that's what he does. And then eventually this force realizes they're in trouble. They panic. They start trying to run, but they can't because they're so tightly packed, and they literally fall over. 50,000 men compressed together like that, falling over. People just instantly die. Bones break. They're scrambling to get into the river. Men are drowning. They're trampled. In an instant, the Muslims wipe out somewhere around 50,000 men. They win the day. They win the battle outnumbered 10-1. They lost a couple hundred. He's unstoppable. Abu Bakr sends the orders. Well, I'll tell you a little story about him because he's also, right before the battle, he's like, I can't win, I know, but it's okay because I'm going to die a martyr. It's a good day. My men are going to die martyrs. We're okay with this. But then he says, but God, if you're willing to give me this win, I'll go make a Hajj to Mecca and pray. And he had been given strict orders by Abu Bakr not to do anything different, just to conquer Iraq. Just go up the Euphrates River. So he knew he wouldn't have the permission to go do this Hajj to Mecca. So he wins the battle. He's been ordered to go back to Iraq and secure it. So what he does is he sends his men, his army, in this circuitous path, taking the longest way possible to go back. I think they were going to Hiram. I don't remember if they were going to Hiram or Tisafon, whatever the town was. They were supposed to go back to. He told them to go take this really long path. And then he and a handful of men just took off on horse and rode all the way across the Arabian Peninsula as fast as they could. They get to Mecca. He's disguised himself because he knows he'll be recognized. He's disguised himself. He does the prayer. He gets on horse. He rides as fast as he can. I think it was Hiram they were going back to. And he gets to Hiram just as his army is arriving. And he gets into line and he enters the city and pretends that he was there all along. Shortly afterwards, Abu Bakr sends a message saying, congratulations on your stunning victory over the Persians. His nickname was Sayf Allah, which means the sword of God. You really are the sword of God. And you were seen in Mecca. Don't ever do that again. And then he orders them, and now I want you to go ahead and go to Syria. And you're going to flank Syria from the north because my men in the south are kind of bogged down.
You are the sword of God. You also apparently have the speed of the sun, because I don't know how you traveled light speed to go from there. But whatever magic that was, please don't do that again. Use it on the enemies.
So he does. In the meantime, Abu Bakr is going to die. He dies in 634. So all of this happened in 2 years. Abu Bakr conquers the Arabian Peninsula and then conquers Iraq and then carves off a piece of Palestine all in a 2-year span of time. It's insane. Khalid ibn Walid goes to Damascus, and Abu Bakr is replaced by Umar ibn al-Khattab, who is his first cousin. So you think, okay, they're going to get along great together. They're going to be friends. They're not. Omar does not like his cousin. He's jealous of him. They grew up wrestling together, but he just hates the idea that Khalid ibn Walid is this stunning, glorious victor. So he sends a letter demoting him, taking away his command. And Khalid ibn Walid arrives at Damascus. He puts it under siege. If I remember correctly, it's Amr ibn al-As who gets the letter. And when he opens it, sees that Khalid ibn Walid's been demoted, he's like, I'm not going to show him this until we capture Damascus. So he just hides the letter and waits and waits. Finally, they capture Damascus. And then Amr knows that at this point he's getting himself in trouble, so he goes over and shows him the letter. Khalid's like, I'm good with this. This is fine. I'm demoted.
All right, we're going to end it there. I'm going to go back. Yeah. So, a couple of things. I like Dr. Roy. This is the first time I've ever heard Umar and Khalid had a little issue. This is the first I've ever heard of it. Is it true? I don't know. You'll tell me. But I will say that I know that Dr. Roy sometimes gets information incorrect. He did a video that I reacted to about presidents and stuff like that. And he talked about, sorry, I was looking at the cursive, and so I got sidetracked. My apologies. He did a video and he was talking about Ulysses S. Grant is the only president who killed someone while a president. He was driving, and I was like, no, he got a speeding ticket. He did not kill anyone. And as the video was playing, I paused it and I showed that no, that's incorrect. So this could be one of those things, and maybe something that he heard and he ran with it. We've all been guilty of misinformation, bad information. Sometimes hearing something and then seeing an outcome and thinking, okay, well, maybe those two didn't like each other because he was demoted, whatever. But I'm questioning that because I don't ever remember hearing about it. So you'll let me know. But until the meantime, that doesn't sound right. In the meantime, until the meantime, is that what I said? Yeah, that was stupid. In the meantime, I'm going to end it here. So, till next time, which will be tomorrow. Have a good day, have a good night.